Okay, I'm live here on YouTube. Sorry, it's not showing up. There we go. I'm live on YouTube and on Facebook. Whenever I do a live, all my lives are saved here on YouTube, and then I hop from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. So, okay. Just waiting for people to turn up. That's why I'm not saying anything. Hello. While we're waiting for everyone to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Beautiful day today. I had a busy day. So where are you from? What part of the world are you in? So we've got Donna and Smart. What a nice last name. Donna Smart. Melissa Sear. I can't say that. I can't figure it out. I can't say that name either. I don't want to mess up your names. That's why if I don't say your name, it's because I don't want to mess it up. Okay, Melissa Van Buren, Maine. Van Buren, Maine. I didn't know there was a Van Buren, Maine. I'm looking it up. Maine. Oh, there you go. What a nice sounding town or city. Van Buren, Maine. I see. Oh, wow. Oh, so you're right on the border of Canada. Interesting. Oh, I didn't know Maine was way up there. Interesting. Okay. I wonder what that what's your city like? Is it big, little? I'll look that up later. I'm curious. Never heard of Van Buren. Okay. So how many people I've got in? No, not many. I haven't been doing lives. I said I was going to try and get back into doing daily lives. I'm lucky if I get on here once a week. So I've been missing it. Oh, you've got a crown with a number 1 on it. That's so cute. Hi, Tabitha. Yeah, Tabitha's here quite often when I do lives. I really appreciate your support. So she got a number 1 crown. I guess I don't quite understand all that stuff. I don't know who does actually. It's so complicated. But yeah, on TikTok's really confusing. I have no idea what's going on there. Oh, it's little. Oh, okay. So Van Buren is little. Okay, well, it's got a neat name. I'm your number 1 fan, maybe. That's cute. Maybe you are. I don't like the word fan, but I appreciate your support. Okay, so let's get going with the live. We got enough people here. As I said, Frankfurt, Illinois. Hi, Carlene. I was going to try and do daily lives again. It's a big fail. I'm just flat out busy. So, but I'm going to try and do more lives. I don't know. I love doing lives. Actually, when I'm in the mood for a live, it's usually 7 or 8 at night because that's when I've finished all my work and I've had dinner, you know, and so I often think, oh, I could do a live now. But then I think, who's going to turn up that late? So that's fine. Okay. Hi, Eric. You're in the process of adopting your daughter over the past year and have loved a lot of your content. Excellent. Thanks so much for your support. I'm adopted. So, yeah. It's been great. I love it. I love being adopted. I always say when you're adopted, you know you were wanted for sure. My mom said, she said, adopting me was the best decision she ever made. We were very, very close. And she died in my arms when she was 93 years old. It was beautiful. Well, you know, bittersweet kind of thing. But yeah, it's lovely. Bittersweet. Okay. Okay, I'll just mention a couple things while we're waiting for your questions. I am here to answer questions. I also like to throw other stuff in that might be of interest to you because most of the questions revolve around discipline. That's not what I'm all about. I'm about connecting and bonding with your kids. I teach calm leadership parenting. And what I mean by that is you're calm during the storms and you're crazy during the rainbows. So when they're upset or whatever, they're mad because you said no, that's when you stay calm. It's just discipline is just a business transaction. But then the rest of the time you want to be crazy during the rainbows, the happy times. Okay, what discipline techniques do you recommend? I know you're not a fan of timeout. Yeah, I use consistent corrective actions with little ones. So that's 16 to 35 months. And then 3 and above, I use the behavior board. And you write down rules, just rules for every member of the family, 3 and over. And then there's a consequence if you break that rule. A rule could be anything from no hitting to put your shoes in the cubby within 5 minutes of arriving home. See how it's timed too. It can't just be put your shoes away when you get home because they could do it 6 hours later, right? So, but yeah, it's just a way of getting organized and getting systems in place. And also you only focus on one thing per week. Like that behavior board, it is free on my website if you're interested. Check it out. Oh, I haven't even introduced myself yet. Sorry. I'll do that right now. Anyway, my name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can see my free behavior board when you sign up for my newsletter. You can look into my courses. I have 2 of them, one for toddlers, one for older kids. And then you can look into private coaching one-on-one with me. I'm actually taking on a few new clients right now because my wait list is huge. But what happens is if I don't get to it for a few weeks, people buy the course instead. So that happens a lot. Anyway, the course is great, but coaching is obviously more intense. Anyway, or you can look into our podcast. My daughter and I do it together. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. We're on all the platforms, and we save our podcasts on YouTube also if you want to watch us. Because my daughter and I, we're best friends, mother-daughter, and we also work together. It's lovely, absolutely lovely. Anchorage, Alaska. Laura, have you been here before? Because I know someone from Anchorage was before. Bartow, Florida. Never heard of that, Tanya. Bartow, Florida. I like to write down places I've never heard of, and after the live, I always look it up. Just geography lesson for me. I've got clients all over the world. There's a couple of countries I'd never even heard of the countries, let alone any cities in them. Okay. Sorry, I'm just scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here when I answer your questions. We're talking about grandchildren. I'm always hesitant to discuss grandchildren because I only teach parenting, right? I'm a grandma, but I only teach parenting because it's not our kid, right? So you got a 2-year-old grandson that isn't talking yet. I've known kids who were 3 and barely talk, and then they just never shut up when they start talking. So I knew someone years and years ago, they didn't, this was the story. The mom used to tell this all the time. She said she didn't walk or talk till she was 3, but then she got up, ran, and never shut up. She just was in no rush. Very laid back. That's really big. This is, I can't pronounce your first name. I'm just reading, you just received physical custody of your stepson who's 16. It's a really long, okay. What I was going to say was 16-year-olds, teenagers are a little bit different. I don't want to read the whole thing out because I've got people on here. I don't want to, go through the whole question, but I will read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. They're my favorite age. They're, things shift and change when they're teenagers because they're going to be adults in a few years. So you got to change how you parent. Okay, so these are my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will tune you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2, you negotiate as much as possible with teenagers. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your plates in the dishwasher from now on. What do you want from me? Back and forth. You're building reciprocity, right? You give respect to get it. Number 3, don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. They need to learn how to start making mistakes and living. And, we all do, right? So if they do something stupid, that's not a big deal. Just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. It's okay to not be perfect. Number 4, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. That's really important. A lot of parents of teenagers just want to talk about what kind of hell their teenagers have put them through. There's never an appropriate time to do that. When the revenge is, when you get the payoff for them, because that's what you're after. You want to discuss it with them. You want them to know how much they put you through. When you get the revenge is when they're all grown up and they've got their own teenagers and they complain to you and you just go, oh, that's a shame. It's a slow burn. But yeah, that's the only revenge you ever get. So don't discuss the bad times. You never discuss the bad times. What's the point? And number 5, you can be a right fighter or you can be happy. That could be said not just with teenagers, but with adults too. You can be a right fighter or you can be happy. Usually, not always, but usually you're right. Not always, but usually you're right. They know it, you know it, but they'll fight. They'll die on that hill. They'll fight anyway. There's no point in arguing with them. Just let it go. It doesn't mean that there's no consequence or something happens, but you don't do the arguing back and forth. That right fighting, right? I used to be more of a right fighter, and I look back on that. It comes more from insecurity and just being young, and wisdom sort of solves a lot of that stuff. Although a lot of old people are cranky and right fighters anyway. But yeah, right fighting is probably never a likable quality. It's never something that's ever going to get you anywhere. If you know you're right, just let the other person think they're right. Be the bigger person. Okay. Okay. Do you have any ideas for dads to connect with teenage daughters? Yeah, the slow burn. That's funny. Okay. Do you have any ideas, dads, to connect with teenage daughters? Yes, I do. I got a really good one. I got lots of them. I always slow down whenever I got too many ideas. Okay, I'll pick one. Okay. So the dad should be on the behavior board. With teenagers, you call it just family board or rule chart, whatever you want to call it. Don't call it anything like behavior board. It sounds kind of babyish. So you can just call it the family law or something. Anyway, so you write down dad's rule is you have to have a rule for everybody, parents included. So dad's rule could be something like this. No phone at the dinner table, because a lot of dads have their phones at the dinner table. So that could be his rule. If he breaks the rule, the teenage daughters get to give him a makeover. So usually and then it's fun. And then he has to go to the corner store with the makeup on or something with the teenagers with him. And he has to, like, just have fun, just get creative. They usually like that. Yeah, absolutely love the slow burn. I can't wait until those days. Yeah. Yeah. It's actually quite funny, but I was just thinking, I know a lot of parents who are really waiting for that when their kids have their own teenagers and they complain to them. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Zara. I appreciate your support. I love what I do. My daughter and I talk about this every single day. We work together. We're best friends, mother-daughter, obviously. We do the podcast together. We keep saying, how freaking lucky are we that we get to do this job and we're helping people? Like, I don't mind making money like a job. It's okay. But to do it when you're helping people, like, it's like heartwarming and just feels great. Like, we're just so appreciative and so grateful that we get to do this for a living. I do I'm the face of the business, but she does all the marketing, all the planning. There's no crossover in our jobs at all. And I hate it when she asks my advice on something. Sometimes she'll say, Mom, is this okay? And I'll say, I don't care. Like, you take care of all that stuff. She's better at all the marketing and, she does all the podcast editing and all that stuff too. I couldn't run this without her. I could. It wouldn't be as easy, that's for sure. I'd have to hire 7 people to replace her, and even then. Okay. Yeah, my daughter came on board full time with me. She left her corporate job 1 year ago, just last week. So we're going to go out and celebrate. Amy, yeah, we're so lucky. My daughter and I, we just every single day, we say how lucky we are that we're in each other's lives. We're best friends, and we work together. It's just we're both so grateful, and we're not complainers at all by nature. We're very, very, very grateful, but we work our butts off. We work very hard. Okay, back to you. Talking about myself. Snore. Okay. Hi, Laura. I have a 5-year-old son who apologizes profusely whenever I might mention even the small. Oh, shoot. It blipped here. Mention even the small stuff. He seems sensitive to any sort of direction from us, Dad, and he will say, I'm sorry, and I find myself telling him to relax and calm. Everyone makes mistakes. That's how we learn. We already do try to never yell, not focus on bad stuff, no timeouts. He's a very well-behaved child. It's just a mystery why he's so dramatic with the story over everything. Be careful not to be too fall down the stairs. Okay. I don't know. That would be coaching for me to delve into that and figure it out. Not to say you need coaching for that, by the way. I got a huge wait list anyway, but let me think here. He's only 5. I'm sorry. Has it got him out of the past? Has it got him out of trouble in the past? Does he feel bad? It almost sounds like he has low self-esteem. So you work on their self-esteem by playing with them a lot, and nothing competitive necessarily, but just spend time with them, and use the behavior board too. You're on there too. So you're going to show him it's okay to make mistakes. you know, like laugh it off. Big deal. We all make mistakes. Big, hairy deal. Someone said, yeah, I love being my mom's best friend. That's Pearls Mahone. My mom was my best friend, and she died. She was 93 when she died, and my daughter was 21. And it was bizarre. It was like the torch was just passed over. So the dynamic's a little bit different because I was the daughter. I used to whine with my mom more, whereas I don't with my daughter as much. I still do sometimes. She doesn't whine at all. She's not a whiner. I have it in me a little bit, and not so much anymore. But anyway, so yeah, my mom was definitely growing up, my mom was my best friend, and throughout my adult life, I was very lucky. Isn't that nice, eh, that I've had those two really wonderful female relationships. I've got a son too who I love very much, but it's just different with sons. We're not talking about everything, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it's just different. I love my son just as much. He's just not my girlfriend. What inspired you to decide to start your business? Love your content. Yeah, you know, if you really, and a funny thing is that I was volunteering with kids, and I was doing all this stuff volunteering for 30 years before I started my business. Never even dawned on me. Like, I just thought I just had to work with kids. I had to mother kids, right? It was just in me. I have to. So, and then it was when I was working with the troubled teens, they kept telling me, you got to teach this, Lisa. So it was them. They kept telling me. And then I kind of forgot. What do you teach? I had no degree or anything. I didn't know what the heck. There was no such thing as a parenting coach back then. It's about 20 years ago or 30 years ago when they were telling me this. And then, and probably 20, 25. And then I did career counseling. It was bizarre. You know you're on the right track when you've already been doing it for free for decades anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was a calling I had. But anyway, I did career counseling, spent $5,000 over 5 days, 8 hours a day. It was intense. And then they said, we usually come out with 2 or 3 careers that you should look into. They said, we only have one, and it's not even a career. And it said you should be teaching parenting. Funny thing is, there was no questions around kids or parenting. It was just, they said everything points to you being a parent. It was like scientific the way they did it. Isn't that bizarre? So all the teenagers and kids were telling me I should teach it. And then the career counseling place said, yeah, that's what came up, was teaching parenting. Isn't that funny? So it was obviously meant to be. My son is 23 and my daughter's 10. Well, that's a big age split. My brother and I were like 16 years apart. I grew up like an only child. So did he, because we were so many years between us that he wasn't fighting me over Barbies. So, and then a lot of people say to me, what's an ideal age split? I don't think there is one, but when it's more than 7 years between siblings, they don't see each other as siblings as much. Like they do, but it's different. They don't act like siblings as much because there's just too much of a spread between them. My kids are 5 years apart, but yeah, they were definitely siblings. But you can see they say 7 years is when it cuts off. But even then, big deal. So what if you have kids 10, 20 years apart? Who cares? It's just they react differently. But my brother and I both grew up basically as only children, sort of. But yeah, we didn't complain about it. I thought it was great. Oh, is this Laura? Is that the one with the boy that says, I'm sorry, I'm sorry? Yeah, I'm wondering if because he's so dramatic with it, I'm wondering if he just does it for attention. I would almost be inclined to say, it's okay. And then if he keeps going on, say, that's enough. Like if you think he's doing it just to get attention or to get sympathy, I would say, that's enough. Okay, and then I would change the subject. No anger. Just, okay, nice day out. I said, I'm sorry, I heard you. That's enough. We're all done. It's over. So you change the narrative. You control the energy, the narrative, rather than just reacting to him all the time. But I don't know what's going on for sure. I'm not sure. Sorry, I'm going to scroll ahead to make sure you're still here. How long have I been on here? Oh, I got to move over to Instagram now. Anyway, what I do is I'm on YouTube the whole time whenever I'm doing a live, and then I hop from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. But I've got other stuff. I've still got lots of emails to answer tonight, so I got to get going. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can see my free behavior board when you sign up for my newsletter. My courses, one for toddlers, one for older kids. You can look into coaching. There's a big wait list, but I'll get to it eventually. Oh, and you can look into my podcast. I do it with my daughter. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. And it's on all the platforms, but we save it on YouTube. It's filmed also, so you can see us talking on YouTube if you're interested. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Happy parenting. I'm hopping over to Instagram. Sorry, YouTube. It's just all this button pushing. Come on. That. And that. Okay. And I put the timer on so I won't run late. Okay, and just waiting for people to turn up. Okay. Okay, well, this is on you, Chris. What to do when you've set boundary and they either butter you up or wear you down. My boys are 10 and 8. You don't let either one of those happen. Yeah, and that's why when you use the behavior board, when you're first starting with this, you just do one rule at a time. Because you start small. That's the training wheels, is the behavior board. So check out my website, bratbusters.com. And, oh, interesting. So I've got, interesting. So now YouTube Lives have like, what do they call that? Number one follower or something. So I've got 1, 2, and maybe is number 2. So it's how many times people have watched. And then Felicia is maybe is number 3. Oh, no, it says 2 and 3. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, but Tabitha, you're holding the first spot. I don't understand all that. Anyway, okay, hi, where am I? Oh, I'm on Instagram. I was talking to YouTube. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can see my free behavior board if you sign up for my newsletter. It's also got a toddler section in there. So if you have kids under 3, it's also covered. Sorry, I've got the sirens going on. Also, you can look into my courses. I have 2 of them, one for toddlers, one for older kids. They're called boot camp courses, or you can look into coaching. I have a big wait list, but I'll get to it eventually. And that's if you want to work with me one-on-one. And then you can also look into the podcast. My daughter and I do it together. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms. And it's also, on YouTube. We film it. So if you want to watch us do the podcast. You know this is so weird. I don't have a filter. I don't know what's wrong with me. But anyway. I never worry about what I'm going to say because I don't think there's anything really horribly wrong with me. So I'm not too worried about what I'm going to say. But, I listened to our podcast and I've never done it. I actually listened at the gym. I think it was this morning or yesterday. I listened to an entire podcast. And you know what I was saying? Like quietly to myself the whole time. I'm listening to my own voice. I never listen to myself. It's agony. I listened to it and I kept saying, oh, this is good. Like, I really liked it. I thought, yeah, I summed it up really well there. And then, I liked the way I said that. I was critiquing it. I liked it. I thought if I was a parent, I'd listen to me, but I'm sure there's other people who are better than me. It just struck me as funny. Oh, God. Okay. Okay, very good question. This is Jan Minimal Mama. You talk a lot about making kids feel good after they did something bad. How do you hijack your brain to see the good when you've triggered yourself? Good luck with that. That's your own personal, mental, emotional challenge. It is hard to do. I've been doing it with kids forever. I was 11 years old and I used to volunteer in daycare centers. Also, I babysat. And I was the number 1 requested babysitter in the whole neighborhood by the time I was, I think, 12 or 13. And I was just good with kids. But I remember figuring that out when I was young and like 11 and I figured it out. I pretended. There was kids that drove me nuts for sure because they always handed me the difficult kids to work with. And they used to drive me nuts. But I knew that if I treated them well, they would be well. If I treated them good, they'd be good. But I had to deal with the bad behavior. I won't get into what I do with kids when I'm working with them because that doesn't pertain to us here. I figured it out back then. So if they feel good, they do good. So the reason why it was easy for me to do is because I knew the results. That was the thing. So if you know how much easier your life is going to be when you get good at faking it till you make it, it gets easier. But I know I've never said this is easy. Getting respect is really hard work. Maintaining it is easy. Once you've figured this all out and once you're comfortable with it, it's easy. But getting there is hard work, right? But yeah, it's such a good question, because I would say that's my biggest challenge in coaching. That's not true because I do crisis work. But one of my most common challenges is the parents' emotions and their own anger and frustration and disappointment. You can never show anger, frustration, or disappointment to your kids because that's not a leader. You got to show like, yeah, okay, you messed up. That's all right. We all mess up. Here's your consequence. Now, do you want to go out and play? It's kind of like that. I'm simplifying it, but that's pretty much it. I don't let anything go. I deal with bad behavior. But when you're first learning how to do this, you just pick one behavior at a time to work on and focus on. And then you master that, you practice with that sort of thing, and then you get better at it. And then by the time you've got 3 behavior boards after 3 weeks, then you don't do any more behavior boards after that. You just kind of wing it. That would be the courses, but the free behavior board, you can learn how to do that for free. It's on my website. But the courses, it teaches you what to do after that, all the follow-up and all that stuff. Anyway, okay. I don't know what you mean by this. This is King Pups. How do you handle nervousness and shyness when it's becoming debilitating for my 3-year-old son? I don't know what you mean. Are you pushing him to talk to other people? I wouldn't. Maybe that's it. Maybe you're pressuring him. Some kids are just shy. They'll find their way. He's only 3, okay? Put him in as many activities as possible. He'll eventually. There's other shy kids out there that they often connect with. When I was young, I didn't like shy kids. They scared me because you never know what they're thinking. I remember saying to my mom, "Oh no, they're not very friendly. They don't talk." And my mom said, "Actually, that's just shyness." I didn't understand because I've never been shy, so I didn't understand that. I said, "What do you mean? Why don't they just talk to people? Why aren't they friendly?" My mom had to explain that to me. But yeah, and I ended up developing really good friendships with shy people. So there's a place for them too. They don't have to be outgoing. It's okay to be shy. Is the toddler course good for 3-year-old kids who look like they might have ADHD? Well, that's where I learned all this, was all those kids I worked with. My kids didn't have it, but all the kids I worked with, I used to call them alphabet kids. They had ADD, WXYZ, they had everything after their name. That's where I learned all this. It's a matter of getting systems in place, getting organized, knowing how to meet their needs and managing their wants. You deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. That's where I learned all this. I didn't learn much with my own kids. I learned all this before I had kids. And then because I sort of got respect when my kids are tiny, I just kind of sailed right through. But it was all the kids I worked with. That's where I learned all this. Oh, this is a good question. For any age kids, what do you do when the child said or did something extremely offensive to someone? So really nasty, right? Do you still not get emotional? That's right. Do you still give them consequence like clean the window? Not necessarily. It depends on what they've done. Sometimes I'll go to the second consequence, which is taking something away. Like if it's something really nasty. If they've said something, sorry, I got a little fly here. If they said something really nasty to someone in class, let's say they're 10 years old and they've said something really nasty, I would say, I'll tell you what, you said that to him, that was really mean, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to unplug your switch and everything, that game console thing, and we're going to give it to him to play with over the weekend, okay, to make it up to him. So you see, you got to get creative too. If they're mean to someone, I like them to do something nice to someone. It's not always appropriate or applicable or doable, but yeah, I have a lot of clients that I do that with. So yeah, and then you got to organize it with the parents and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, one of the families that I did that with, there are actually a couple, but one in particular that stands out. Those kids ended up, and I said, here's what you do. You give I think it was a PlayStation, I can't remember. The kid had to give his PlayStation and 1 or 2 of the games that the other kid got to pick and to play with over a weekend. And then I said, then what you do is the next weekend you invite that kid over for a play date to play those games, and they ended up becoming close friends. So yeah, you don't just teach your kids not to be bad. You teach them how to be good. Like a lot of parents just want to stop bad behavior, but what are you going to replace it with? You got to teach them how to be good too. Yeah, the course is good for kids with focus issues and ADD, ADHD, WXYZ. The exception would be like challenges like autism. But a lot of my clients who've gone through the course have said that it's worked with their children with autism too. It depends, you know. But yeah, no, I don't consider ADHD, I don't consider it any kind of disability, in that it's so common now that everyone's used to it, and you know, so many kids have it, but plus it's not a cognitive setback, you know. It's just more about learning impulse control, focus, yeah, stuff like that. Okay. How often do you recommend a toy rotation system? Maximum once per week. That doesn't make any sense. What I mean is no more than once a week usually. But I did it every few months because my kids, we were out a lot, and we also had a toy library. And it was attached. I mean, you could get this going if you just have a church or something. Get it going. Have everyone donate all their toys, and then you can just go and take them out like a library system. Someone will volunteer at a church, or community centers often do it. I've heard different cities do it all over the world. But anyway, it was a toy library, and you would literally go in, and they were big toys. They were like the big doll houses, the big garages. They weren't little bit, you know, not Lego or anything like that. It was the big stuff, like a little mini trampoline. It was all stuff. Sorry, all these little flies here. And it was fantastic. And so my kids had that coming in every couple of weeks. We had something, and it was usually out back in the yard because we lived in Australia, so it was always, you know, outside weather. Anyway, so yeah, I was always keeping them busy, looking at different things or going to different places. So we were pretty active. So I only did the toy rotation once every few months. Plus, I was very particular with their toys. They weren't spoiled at all with stuff. I was very adamant about that. But what they had, I said, I only want them to get something that starts as nothing and they turn it into something. Like I like things like Play-Doh, Lego, art kits, science kits, anything that they had to create something from. You know, that's the kind of stuff I liked. So they had stuff that kept them interested for a long period of time, basically. So I'm scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here. Oh my goodness. Oh, sorry, I've had to skip through so many questions. And I'm not just here answering questions. I'm talking about the just general parenting stuff, because everyone asks me about discipline, but that's not what I'm all about at all. I'm about connecting and bonding with your kids, being friends with your kids, having joy and happiness in the house. I want you to wallow in parenting like I did. It was the most fun time my whole life. I didn't really have to discipline, you know, because I got respect when they were tiny. Once you've got respect, you never have to tell them what to do. They just do it. No one's perfect. There's little hiccups along the way, but nothing big, you know. And they never talk back to a leader either, because you've got mutual respect going. How to stop my 8-year-old from trying to control/parent my 4-year-old. I get clients who have this issue. I say on the behavior board, stop parenting your siblings. And then you have to explain what that means. That means don't tell them what to do, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, and every time they do, there's a consequence. Maybe that 4-year-old gets to play with their favorite toy for a half hour or something. But yeah, make it very, you know what though? I'll be honest with you. Sometimes they do that because you're not. So if you're not controlling the 4-year-old and you can't handle them, they often step in. So are you a good leader? You know, so that could be it too. So you got to work on yourself, work on your parenting. How can you play more with your kids? I don't know how. I hear this a lot. Yeah, how do you, and I always say you got to bond and connect and play with your kids, but how do you do that if it's not your way? You watch what they do when they join in, and you join in. Okay, so whatever they like to play with, you join in. You show an interest in their world. Now, you might just be faking it till you make it, but I'll tell you a really cute story. I always get permission for these things. But anyway, I had this mom who really had never played with her little boy. He was older. He wasn't 3 or 4. He was a few years older. Anyway, and she'd never really played with him. She goes, I just don't like kids stuff. I don't like playing with kids' toys. So I said, okay, so if you yell on the behavior board, her rule was no yelling. If she yells, her rule is she has to play Lego for 30 minutes. She didn't want to do it. She goes, 30 minutes, it sounds like torture. And so I said, no, that has to be your consequence, because the parents' consequences are usually connecting with the kids, right? Something that the kids would love that you never do usually, like hide and seek or tag, something different. Anyway, so she'd never played Lego with her son. And anyway, so she ended up playing for hours. As soon as she sat down on the floor, which she'd never done before, he sat in her lap and they were playing for hours. She said it was the most beautiful afternoon they'd ever had together. So yeah, you might end up enjoying it when you see the difference in your kids and how they react. Like, play is their love language. So I often use this example. Let's say you say to a 5-year-old little boy, and praise is okay, but it's not their love language. It's not mine either. You spend time with me, laugh with me, that's my love language. But not compliments, or it's empty to me. Anyways, I don't like lip service. So anyway, you say to a 5-year-old little boy, you're wonderful, you're special, you're smart, I love you, everybody loves you, you're fantastic, I'm going to go do the dishes. This is his face. You say to that same little 5-year-old little boy, hey, what are you playing? Can I play too? Watch his face. Lights up. Lights up. That's how you connect. You connect in their world, not yours. Consistent corrective actions for 14-month-old. It's my biggest challenge. No, they're a little bit young. It starts at about 16 months. Now you're just using diversion. You're teaching them right from wrong. Just take away and divert whatever they're getting into or whatever. So yeah, I know it's a bland statement. It could mean a million different things, but yeah, you're not really using consistent corrective actions yet. You're leaning into it a little bit, but you want to, like, you might take something away that they're hitting with, but then you replace it with something else. You use the redirection, diversion, you know. So you're teaching them right from wrong, but you're not doing much about it yet. You're just diverting. How do I get my 3-year-old boy to learn to play independently? I join him in his world all the time. We have so much fun, but he doesn't know how to play by himself. Okay, get him new stuff. They all like new stuff. Get him a science kit or a magic kit, age appropriate, obviously. Something that you start with him, and then you say, okay, I'm going to go do the dishes, and you can continue. Get him new stuff. They don't just want to play the same stuff all the time, unless they've got someone to play with, or it's screen time, obviously. But other than that, yeah, get him something new, something that he's never seen before, and just start there. See what happens. But you could start with them and then say, okay, I'm going to do the dishes. It's a very, you don't say, I'm stopping playing now. You see? There's a difference there. It's a different, it's received differently. Okay, so, oh, have fun with that. That looks like a lot of fun. I'm going to go do the dishes now, okay? I'll check in with you later or something. And some of them do play better. My son was really into independent play right from day one. His daughter, she's 18 months old. She's really good at it too. I think it's just in their basic nature. My daughter wanted to be attached to me like Velcro all the time. But I would just say to her, here you go. Mom needs some no you time for a while. And she'd kind of laugh and she'd play on her own for a while. But yeah, so they're all different, right? But I would get her stuff that I knew she'd like. I would cook up Play-Doh on the kitchen stove. God, that would keep them busy for hours. I was cooking up Play-Doh all the time. That is so hard to stir once it gets just about ready. I love the smell of that. It reminds me of my mom. My mom used to make that all the time, Play-Doh on the stove. And it just reminds me so much of my mom, my own childhood. That and the Easy Bake Oven. Oh, helping 2-year-old with transitioning, even after giving a 5-minute, we're going to. Okay, you're trying to reason with them. It's good to give them a bit of warning. Their brain might click into it, or it might not. They're 2. They don't make any sense yet, okay? So yeah, they might have a tantrum, but still make it happen. If you say, we're going to be leaving soon, if they have an absolute fit because they don't want to leave, even though you've given them the 5-minute transition time, just say, okay, now we're going. So say, we're leaving in 5 minutes, and then you say, okay, time to go, and they have a fit, and then you say, okay, and then you pick them up and say, we're going. Make it happen. Follow it up with action. You got to be ready for it. Get your sleeves rolled up. If you think they're going to have a tantrum, trying to get them in the car, be ready for action. Be ready to take control. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, you connect with toddlers in their world, not yours. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill. Number 4, discipline toddlers in their world. So same kind of thing. They need consistent corrective actions. If they do something naughty, you say one word. You just say no, and then you take the fun away from them or them away from the fun, just temporarily. They'll get the message eventually. They're not about words, by the way. All these mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions, it's absolute crap. Drives me nuts that people are teaching that out there, but I've got so many years experience. Maybe they're just learning. I don't know, but it's garbage. Their language is actions, not words. Okay. And these mini therapy sessions are for you. And I think they're mean. You're just focusing on negativity, and they don't want to talk about their big feelings and big emotions. There's a time and a place for that, but not when you're just disciplining and they just said no and they threw a toy. That is not the time to do it. Okay, number 5, stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed floating around up here. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years, and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. They're just forming. They're brand new. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. Go figure that one out. Yippee. I did that evidently when I was a baby. And my dad heard my mom go in my room and she went, "Oh no." And he went running in thinking something horrible. And I was covered in poop and the wall was covered in poop. And my dad said, "Oh," he was laughing. He says, "I'll clean it up." So he grew up on a farm. He says, "No worse than an old cow barn." My parents were funny. No worse than an old cow barn. That was me in my crib, an old cow barn. Also, Mom said you were just full of joy as a kid, like I was really happy. And when I was a baby, she said that whenever they had company over, they'd keep me in bed a bit longer so company would hear this if I was just having a nap. So what I would do is I never cried or anything, but I would just go, I would sing, and then I'd wait. And if they wouldn't come in right away, I'd get louder and louder and louder and louder. So they didn't have recorders back then or anything. It would have been great if they could have videotaped that. But she said because you never cried, like I just wasn't the type of baby that cried or anything, she said you would sing. I'm ready to get up now. Either that or I'd smear poop on the wall, one or the other. Baby is about to turn 1. How and when do I introduce screen time and how do I moderate it? That's totally up to you. Nobody really knows the answer to that. My granddaughter's 18 months old. She doesn't have any screen time. And not that I know of. It's very, very rare. But yeah, she doesn't seem to do that. They just haven't introduced it, so she doesn't really know much about it, right? So she loves books and all that. But yeah, if you introduce it, it is mesmerizing. So watch out for that. Yeah, it is mesmerizing. Can we put grades or homework on the behavior board? You can put homework, but you can't put the level of it. Like what I mean is you can't put grades or anything. You can't put really how well it's done. You can say do your best, do homework 30 minutes every day if you don't complete your homework or something. But you're not judging how well it's done. You're judging that they made an effort and tried, but you don't make them go for a straight. You can't get straight A's on the behavior board. Nothing like that, no. What age is considered a toddler? This is just my own view. But to me, a baby is up to 15 months old, and then a toddler is 16 to 35 months. I just go by their development. And then a preschooler is 3 and 4, and then 5 and up's kid and teenager and all that. But anyway, a preschooler, the reason a 3-year-old to me is not a toddler. Toddler to me is just all feet, no brains, right? At 3, they have the ability to stop and think before they act. They have the ability to learn how to reason. They're just different at 3. So that's why we start the behavior board at 3. It makes them stop and think before they act. It's just the way I do it. I don't know what anyone else. I've never, ever read a book on kids or parenting. I've never looked at anyone else talking about parenting. I don't really know what's out there other than what my clients tell me. And even then I say, it's no point going into all that. What's the point in talking about what isn't working? I'd rather talk about what we're going to do to make things work. You know what I mean? And the difference between a therapist and a coach, a therapist focuses on the past, a coach focuses on the future. So I'm all about solutions, going into the past and what they've been doing that didn't work. I'll tell you what I get. That pleaser parent style that's so popular, it's very good for my business. It does not work. It might work temporarily with little kids who don't know their power yet, but once they find it, watch out, they'll railroad right over you. So yeah, it's a disaster. The old-fashioned authority style isn't a bad way to parent. It's not my style at all. The pendulum went from authority to pleaser, went nuts. I'm in the middle. It just had settled in now that I'm in the middle. I teach leadership because you want to be friends with your kids. You want to have fun with them. You don't want to be disciplining or anything. Ugh, get that all done, get it all out of the way, and then you've just got mutual respect, so you can just enjoy. Okay, I'm going to be moving over to TikTok now. Check out my website, bratbusters.com. You can see my free behavior board on my newsletter when you sign up. My courses, I have one for toddlers, one for older kids. You can look into coaching. I know I've got a big wait list right now, but I'll get to it eventually if you want to work with me one-on-one. And also you can check into the podcast. My daughter and I do it together. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast, and it's on all the platforms. And we also save it on YouTube if you want to watch us do it, because we film ourselves. And we get the giggles a lot, but my daughter edits most of that out. We had a good giggle the other day. I'm sure it's been edited right out. Anyway, thanks so much for joining. And I'm on YouTube the whole time whenever I'm doing a live. And now I'm going over to TikTok. Happy parenting. Okay. I can't remember what it was. I don't get huge numbers on these. Like when I do a live, I might get maybe 3,000 or 4,000. But I remember once I was doing, like, that's people come and go. So the total number is different from what you see posted because people come and go all the time. Anyway, but I had an audience when I first started doing lives. I had an audience, and some huge, big TikTok person had shared it. And I think I had like 25,000 people on there, and I was new at doing lives. I kept looking at the number, I was sweating. I've never had that since. It was so funny. Because I said to my daughter later on, I said, what happened? Because I was new at doing live, so she was coming in from her place just to sort of help me out, just to see. And she goes, oh no, some big person had shared me, that's why. And they never did it again, so I guess they didn't like me that much. But it was just funny, I just sweating bullets. Okay, welcome to my live. I'm on YouTube, I'm on YouTube the whole time that I'm doing lives, and then I hop from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. I go from my smallest platform to my biggest. TikTok's my biggest platform. And in social media. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can see my free behavior board if you join my newsletter. You can also look into my courses. I have one on toddlers and their boot camp courses, and one for older kids. You can also check out coaching if you're interested in working with me. There's a big wait list for it. Sorry about that, but I'll get to it eventually. And also our podcast. My daughter and I do it together. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms. Okay. Yeah, I love TikTok. And just so you know, so people seem to think I'm making tons of money on here. I don't make any money on TikTok. I'm in Canada. China does not pay Canadian TikTokers. So yeah, I'm not complaining at all. But yeah, there ain't no money coming in from TikTok, that's for sure. I love TikTok. This is where I got my start. This is where I kind of blew up overnight on social media. It was TikTok. And now my daughter's working with me in that just to help, help. I mean, it was just, it was overwhelming, put it that way. Yeah, TikTok's amazing. Okay, we started wrestling with our 2.5-year-old son. Now he doesn't know how to stop. How do we just stop doing it? I never wrestled with my kids because they don't understand exceptions. They don't understand, well, you can go this far, but you can't go, you see, it's like they just don't understand exceptions or the differences. So yeah, I never recommend wrestling with kids. But a lot of my clients are, especially guys who are into sports, and maybe I've worked with some guys who are in the rodeo, and they're real physical and they really want to wrestle with their kids. I'm not going to take that away from them, but you have to have a whole bunch of, sort of rules around it. But yeah, 2.5 doesn't understand that yet. They don't understand exceptions. They're going to go and wrestle their teacher, wrestle grandma, go wrestle anybody. They just don't get that it's just not appropriate all the time. So it's sort of like saying, yeah, you can be naughty and be aggressive with people sometimes, but not other times. They don't understand the difference really. So yeah, I recommend not doing it personally. But if you really want to do it, you're just going to have to put up with you're just going to have to do your best. But it's one of those things, because I don't recommend it, I can't really comment on it. Do you know what I mean? Did I introduce myself on here? think I did. I get lost because I go to so many different platforms when I'm doing live. I think I did. Anyway, it's bratbusters.com if you're interested in seeing what else, all my courses and that. Tips on breaking up a fight between siblings. If it gets physical, I don't know their age. You want to sort of prevent that from happening in the future is the best way to go about it. But I can't tell you physically how you break up a fight between older kids. I don't teach that kind of stuff. So yeah, if it's physical and they're older and bigger, and it's just dangerous, right? So I don't want to get into that. That would be coaching. I discuss it in coaching. But anyway, if your siblings are fighting, you check out my behavior board and just put down something like no hitting. It could just be something. It can't be no attitude or no yelling. You got to be careful with that. You can never put attitude for kids on the behavior board. So, but you can put down no hitting. So, and then they'll often play fight, and then you don't get mad at that. There again, I've got clients who've had that. They say, well, when they're play fighting, I don't want to ruin that for them, but then it always gets out of hand. Well, you can't have it both ways. If you're going to allow them to goof around and hit and wrestle play fighting, then you can't get mad when it goes too far. You've kind of done that to them. You've allowed that. Okay. When a toddler 24 months doesn't listen, what punishment consequences do you recommend? Example, timeout. I hate timeout. Can't stand it. I don't recommend that. What do you mean by don't listen? So a good example of that would be you say to a 2-year-old or 2-year-old, yeah, 24 months, you say, okay, time to get in the car. And they start to yell. They don't want to get in the car. Just make it happen. You follow up what needs to be done. If it's something that has to be done, just follow up with action. Make it happen. I never repeat myself. I only say something once. Okay, time to get in the car seat. No. I'm not talking after that. I pick them up and I follow that up with action. Once I've said what has to happen, I don't like to call it an order, but once I've said what has to happen, like you're going to get in the car seat, I don't say it again. I do it. I get them in the car seat. You might just have to hold them over the car seat, not looking at them or talking to them, and just wait till they calm down because you're holding them over. They're stiff as a board. Wait till they calm down, then, push them down, their little hips down, then buckle them in fast. And then after that's all done, then you just go back to normal like nothing's happened. Don't discuss bad behavior. Big mistake. I only have this problem in TikTok for some reason, but I'm having a hard time with my white shirt with the letters. It's hard for me to read. So I'm going to look at YouTube just because I'm having a hard time reading that. What should the parenting mindset be to not be in the pleasing parent style? That you want to make them good people. Okay, if they're acting out, then you deal with the bad behavior, but then you want to make them good people. It's not that you're telling them they're good people. You just, correct bad behavior. Then you focus on the good kid. Talk about what they like to do, what they have fun doing. It's the pool story. Look at the pool story. If you haven't seen it yet, I always recommend all my clients look at it. I should put that in my, sorry, I'm going to write that down. It should be in my welcome to coaching thing. Pool story. And welcome letter. Sorry. It's just the pool story is, I can't tell it again. I've told it thousands of times. I'm self-destructive. I had to tell it again. Anyway, it encompasses how I look at parenting. I don't let anything go. You're going to be letting stuff go when you first start doing all this stuff because you can only focus on one behavior at a time. But I'm level 10 with what I teach, so because I've invented it, right? So I don't let anything go. I deal with all bad behavior, but I don't focus on it. I deal with it fast like that. It's over and done with. Then I focus on bringing out the good in that kid. That's the pool story. I don't discuss bad behavior. I can't think of an incident where it would be necessary to do so. I deal with it, but I don't discuss it. When you get a ticket for speeding, do the police discuss it with you, or do they just tell you what you did wrong and then they give you a ticket? Then do they discuss why you shouldn't do it, that you should know better? Are you going to do it again? What have you learned from this? Do they do that? Why not? Why not? Why does it make no sense to do that whatsoever? Why does it make no sense to do that with kids either? Makes no sense at all. None. Here's what you did wrong. Here's your punishment, your consequence, whatever you want to call it. It's over. Parents all want to shame their children. Shaming and blaming. That's all that is. Discussing bad behavior. It's just shaming and blaming. It's just making them feel worse. That when they feel good, they do good. When they feel bad, they do bad. If you're focused on all the bad behavior, you're just going to get more of it because you're knocking their self-esteem down. How can I go about potty training my 3-year-old boy who is autistic and nonverbal? Well, I don't know where he's at. So that would be coaching potentially, but you might want to look at my courses. Look at the 3-year-old one because it has they both have the potty training party in there. It's called a potty party. And you might want to look at that. It might work, might not. I don't know. Because autistic children, they're all so different. They're all unique. And I always say with autistic kids, when you hire me for coaching, not that you need me for that, but then I always say we're just throwing mud at the wall and see what sticks. I need to know what's stuck in the past and what hasn't, and then let's see what sticks. They're all different. They all have different things that are easier to get to them through, like things that they like, different pathways to get to them, get into their good books, sort of. Why does a child behave with dad and not with mom? I don't know. Maybe he's a leader, or maybe he's an authority. I don't know. Authority is not a bad way to parent, but it's based on intimidation and fear, and they will rebel against the authority when they're teenagers or younger, but they never rebel against a leader. There's nothing to rebel against. I find when I'm coaching a lot, I'll explain something, and I understand why parents want this. I get it. But I'll say something that seemingly doesn't make any sense. And then they want to know all the psychology behind it. That is my dream, to just talk about the psychology behind all this. But you need the actions. You need to know what to do. But some of my clients say, well, if we know why we should be doing it, it helps us to do it. So, and I think I've explained that why you never discuss bad behavior pretty well. That's the pool story too. Yeah, it's not appropriate. It's not going to get you what you want, which is happy kids. When you feel good, you do good, right? So. Shy, this is on YouTube, Coco. Shy 6-year-old ignores teachers. She usually takes a long time to warm up with any new adults. So is she ignoring what the teacher's saying? Like, is she being defiant? So I don't know what you mean by ignoring. Or does she just not talk a lot? If she's being told that she has to do something, like get her stuff packed up and leave for school, if she's ignoring that, that's behavior. If she's just not talking a lot, that's shyness. So I don't know if it's behavior, defiant behavior, or shyness. I don't know. So I can't really answer that. Not answering. I don't know what that is. It could be so many different things. I have had a client a couple of years ago, or I can't remember. And I've had a few of them, but just the most recent one, I think, and they called it selective mutism. This child was so shy that they literally never talked at school. It's called selective mutism. It's actually a medical diagnosis. It's psychological based, but it was really interesting. So I don't know if she has something along those lines. You know, it's curable. It's something that they grow out of usually. But yeah, so I don't know what's causing it, is what I'm saying. I can't give a great answer because of that. Oh, I really want to know. Oh, no, it wasn't what I thought it was. I thought it was a really interesting question, but I had the wrong context there. Okay, how do you help a 3-year-old that wakes up scared every night and has you sleep with them? Okay. They're 3 years old and has you sleep. So wakes up scared. Okay. My gut reaction is I would do the bedtime battles with them, go through I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't sleep with them because they're old enough. But I would have sound machine, this galaxy lights, also something cushy, something like that they like cuddling. I would also do a monster check before bedtime and say I've checked everywhere. And I used to tell my kids, I only did it once or twice with them. So I'd say they heard about monsters and they were probably 3 or 2, I don't know. Anyway, and I said, okay, monsters are, and I was already a leader, so they believed what I said. And I said, monsters are terrified of me. If I do a monster check and I look under the bed, the closet, they'll never come back. So I did all that, and the kids never got scared after that. So, and I always drag stuff like that out too. I loved all that stuff. I'd say, you know what? Sometimes there are monsters in your room, but they're terrified of your mother, terrified of me. So if I look, and they love it. Really? They always thought I had all these superpowers. That was great. I loved mothering. Okay, oops, I have to get going. Sorry about that, but I'm out of time. I got lots to do tonight still. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can see my free behavior board if you join my newsletter, or you can look into coaching. Big wait list right now, but I will get to it eventually. My courses, I have one for toddlers and one for older kids. They're called the boot camp courses, or you can look into our podcast. My daughter and I, Amy, we do it together, and it's on all the platforms. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. If you want to watch us do it, we film ourselves, and it's on YouTube, so you can see it there too. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm planning on doing more lives. I did them every day for a couple of years there, and the last year I just haven't had time. So, but I really want to get back into doing it more because I really do enjoy doing these lives. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. Good night.